Okay, good afternoon, Yashmi and Minaya. So, what about the other students? What has happened to them? Right? So, Yashmi, where is Kiara? Isn't she joining for this lesson also?
No, ma'am. Kya is joining. Kya on the way.
Okay. Okay, so right. So we will start our lesson, right? So today I'm not going to give you this revision quiz because Monday I was absent and I sent you some questions on that. Okay, right. Okay, so now today, so just a recap from what we have done last week, right? So I was I was talking to you about the precipitation reactions, right? So what is simply a precipitation reaction? That means in a aqueous medium, right? In a aqueous medium, when the cations and anions are combining to form a insoluble ionic solid, right? I told you a precipitate is a solid, right? So it is an insoluble solid. So it is an insoluble ionic solid, and if any reaction involve the combining of cations and anions to form a insoluble ionic solid, we call it as a precipitation reaction, right? So one example we discussed was the testing for the carbon dioxide, right? So I told you, if we are bubbling carbon dioxide to lime water, so lime water is what? Calcium hydroxide solution. It is initially colorless, right? So when we keep on bubbling, what happens? It will turn to milky color, right? So what is the reason of turning to milky color? That is due to the formation of calcium carbonate solid, or we call it as calcium carbonate precipitate, right? So that is one example for the precipitation reactions, right? And after that, I showed you this video also, right? Now, today we are going to talk about another example for a precipitation reaction, that is the test for sulfate ion, right? So what is happening here? That means if we take a solution containing sulfate ions, if we put barium chloride, or simply I can say it as, if we put barium ions into that solution, then it will form a precipitate. What is that precipitate? Barium sulfate precipitate, right? So what is happening here? The sulfate ions in our solution reacted with the barium ions which we have added, right? So barium ions with sulfate ions will be forming barium sulfate solid. So this is the ionic reaction that is happening in this test. Okay, so always remember, if we want to test a solution for sulfate ions, what we have to do is we have to put barium ions into that. So sulfate ions get react with barium ions and they will form barium sulfate precipitate. So as you can see from this picture, it is a white color precipitate. So you can see the solution turning white color. Is it clear? Okay, right. So now we will see that one, right? And actually at the end of the lecture, I will show all these things, right? Because it is somewhat hard for me to go to the this thing and show you, because this the video that I have added here is not working, right? So what I will do is I will show everything at the end, right? Remind me, okay? Okay, right. Then the next one is, now we know there are precipitation reactions, right? So when a precipitation reaction is there, we can actually work out the chemical equation, right? That means we can see, we can work out, we can formulate what is the chemical equation involving in this precipitation reaction, right? So this is an experiment that we can do in labs, right? So this is what we are doing. So you can say, when colorless aqueous solution of lead nitrate. So you can say this is lead nitrate, right? And potassium iodide. So potassium iodide is also colorless and lead nitrate is also colorless. So when we mix those two, what is happening? You can say the formation of lead iodide, which is a yellow color precipitate. So you can say when we add potassium iodide little by little, you can see the formation of the precipitate. So we are using this equation, that means we are using this reaction to find out what is the equation happening there. Okay, right. So this is the method that we are following, right? So you can see, you can just go through this table, right? So we have to take a series of test tubes and we can mark it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like this. So it will be very clear when you look at this one. So first of all, we are taking 7 test tubes and we are marking it as 1 to 7, right? Then what we are going to do? We are adding same volume of 1 mole per cubic decimeter. What does this mean? This indicates the concentration, right? 1 mole per cubic decimeter potassium iodide solution into the test tubes. So we are adding same amount of potassium iodide to these test tubes, right? And then what we are going to do? We are going to add different volumes of lead nitrate solutions into the test tube, right? So you can say potassium iodide, we have added 5 cubic centimeters to every one, right? And then lead nitrate, we are adding different volumes like this. So for the first one, we have added 0.5. For the second one, we have added 1. For the third one, we have added 1.3. Like this, we have added different volumes of lead nitrate, right? Then after adding, what we do? You can see actually the formation of the precipitate, right? By the appearance of the yellow color, you can see the formation of the precipitate. Then what we are going to do? We can't calculate how much precipitate is formed now. So what we are going to do is we are centrifuging each of these test tubes. Do you know what is centrifuge? Centrifuging? No, right? So usually centrifuging is done when we want to separate components of our blood, right? So I think now all of y'all, you may have gone for a blood test, right? What happens when you go for a blood test at the lab? What happens? They will withdraw blood and they will put the blood into a small tube, right? Have you seen? So in that one, what they do? Once they take it to the lab, that small tube, they put it into the centrifuge machine. There is a centrifuge machine. So in that centrifuge machine, what is happening? That that test tube will be rotated at a very high speed, right? So we say that the RPM values, that is rotations per minute value, will be very, very high. So it will be rotating in a very high speed. So when that tube is rotating in very high speed, what is happening? The components get separated. So in blood also, what are the components in the blood? So we have blood plasma, and red blood cells are there, white blood cells are there. So those are the three main components, right? So those three components can be separated. Okay, so red blood cell layer can be seen, plasma layer can be seen, and in between there will be the protein layer or platelet layer, like that. These layers are seen, right? So likewise, it is the same procedure that we are doing here also. The test tube which has formed the precipitate, that means yellow color, which is containing this yellow color solution, we will be put into the centrifuge machine so that it get rotated, and the precipitate, what happened? The precipitate will be settling down. Precipitate will be settling down. So you can see, once it is centrifuge, this is how the test tubes are looking like, right? So you can see, in one test tube, the precipitate is this much. Likewise, the precipitate is at different heights in this test tube, right? So then what we are going to do? We are going to measure the depth of the precipitate, right? So you can measure, and you can see from this picture, actually, the precipitate in the 5th, 6th, and 7th. The precipitate height is same, right? So by depending on that, you can see, actually, the precipitate height is same means what? The reaction is complete, right? That means the exact amount of the potassium iodide and lead nitrate has reacted. That is the idea, because it has formed. Because in this one, it has formed to the same extent. In this test tube also the same height. Test tube also the same height. So if we have another test tube beyond this one also the same height. The reason is because now at this point, the exact amount of potassium iodide and lead nitrate has been reacted, right? So then we have to calculate the amount of the reactants which are used in the tube 5, and we have to write down the equation for the complete reaction, right? Now we will see. Now 5, 6, 7. These are having the same similar precipitate. So that means from here, so if 5 cubic centimeters of potassium iodide are reacting, it should react 2.5 cubic centimeters of lead nitrate, right? Now can you see the ratio? Potassium iodide to lead nitrate is 5 is to 2.5. That means 2 is to 1. Did you understand that? Okay, clear? So this should be 2 is to 1. So potassium iodide to lead nitrate, potassium iodide if 5 is reacting, lead nitrate 2.5 is reacting. So lead nitrate 2.5, potassium iodide 5. So that means the molar ratio will be, the reacting ratio will be 1 is to 2. So now you can work out the chemical reaction, right? That means 1 mole of lead nitrate reacting with 2 moles of potassium iodide to give the product. So you can balance the equation accordingly. Is it clear? Understood? So that's how, using the precipitation reactions, we are going to find out what is the chemical equation happening in this reaction. Okay, right. So Minaya, is it clear for you? Right. So what about Yashmi? Is it clear for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Okay, so with that thing, can you do this question? Hmm? No, it's not. It's soluble calcium chloride is answer, right? Yeah. Okay, right. Don't do the second one because still you don't know to calculate the substances in moles, right? So don't do the second one and do this question now. Do this question. same Ca2 plus little. You know you ask me. It is same. It is same. Aqueous. So always remember, in a precipitation reaction, the ions are in aqueous form. The solid which it forms will only be solid. Okay, right. So Yashmi, do this question also. Do this one. So what was the answer for the first one? Test for sulfate. So Ba2 plus aqueous ions with SO4 2 minus aqueous, it will be forming BaSO4 solid. So that is the test for sulfate. Then test for a chloride. Ca2 plus aqueous with Cl minus aqueous will be forming CaCl2 solid. Okay. So those two you can write as the answers for the first one. Then do this question. Finish? Finish doing that? Okay. So the question is, barium hydroxide react with sulfuric acid as shown. BaOH twice equals reacting with H2SO4, forming BaSO4 and H2O, right? So what is the ionic equation for this reaction? So what is it? Ba2 plus ions here reacting with SO4 2 minus ions here, forming BaSO4 solid. Is it clear? Did you? Yeah, it is the simplest ionic equation. You are telling this one, no? The first one is also correct, right? Because it shows the extended form. So BaOH twice, how to write it as ions? Ba2 plus aqueous ions and 2 OH minus aqueous ions are there. Then when we consider H2SO4, it will be having 2H plus aqueous ions and SO4 2 minus aqueous ion. And then BaSO4 solid, it's written like that, and H2O liquid is also the same like this. So this is the ionic equation. This is the simplest ionic equation. Okay? Clear? Yashmi, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Then there is another question to this one. Is it, can you see this? Can you see? Okay. Do this question. Write down the question and do, because these are past paper questions. Okay? Mhm. First one is CrCl. The other one is Cr3Cl4. The other one is Cr4Cl5. Then last one is CrCl3. Okay, shall I do that question? Right? So, what is that? So the scientific chromium chloride, right? So chlorine, chromium chloride. Chromium chloride, 1, 2%. Right? So that we are the concentration is 0.1. Right? So that we are having different volumes of silver 95. Right? So in your case, we are having different volumes. Right? So it can be 1, 2, 3, like this. And 1, right? The precipitates have and they have given you the height of the precipitates. Right? So from that graph, you can see that at the moment you have 3 cubic centimeters of silver nitrate. The precipitate is 4 centimeters high. Sorry, 4 millimeters high. And then beyond that also, the precipitate height will be here. Right? So then at 3, that means when we have an AgNO3, 3 cubic centimeters, the reaction is complete. Right? So this should be chromium We have added one unit cell, right? We have added one unit cell, right? And the precipitate is forming is what? Silver chloride precipitate. This is the reaction number. I just wrote the right? So you know from this silver reference, we are getting 18 iron line, NO3 minus iron. From chromium chloride, we are getting Cr and chloride Cl chromium oxide, chloride. So from C, from this reaction, right? So from this reaction to happen, this Ag starts to react with Cl-. So from the volume that you see on the ratio, 3:1 friend, right? 3 silver ions are reacting with 1 chloride, right? 3 silver ions are reacting with 1 chloride, right? So you know that it is giving AgCl, right? So AgCl, all these 3 silver ions should go as silver in the AgCl, right? So that means we should get 3 AgCl precipitate. We should get 3 AgCl. So if we want to make 3 AgCl, that means from this chloride, here one number. So I should just write that sentence, write that chromium chloride. Then you want to right? So to take 3 AgCl, how many AgIons are there? How many AgIons? 3 should be there. And chloride ion also 3 should be there. Now Ag3 is okay. Now so from this one, 3 chloride should come. So from your answer state, what is the answer giving you? 3 chloride. That is D. So answer should be CrCl3. That's how you get. Understood? So what about Yashmi? Is it clear for you? Yashmi, is it clear for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Now do this question also. Do this question. Finish? Right. So what is the answer for that? What is the ionic equation for the reaction between aqueous solutions of barium nitrate and sodium sulfate? Right. So here the formation of barium sulfate. Right. So what is the equation? It should be D. Barium aqueous ions with sulfate aqueous ions forming barium sulfate solid. Here? Right. So Yashmi, is it clear for you? Is it clear for you, Yashmi?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Okay, this one. Last question for this. Do this question also. Okay, finish. Finish. The sodium hydroxide solution was neutralized with sulfuric acid. What is the ionic equation? So always, if it is a neutralization reaction, I told you what is the main feature. Hydrogen ions and OH minus ions, they will combine to form H2O liquid. So that is the idea in a neutralization reaction. That is what happens, right? So always there should be formation of H2O, right? So we can just send it out because H2O liquid is not formed. So we can just ignore that one. So we have to choose from A, C and D. So ionic equation. So sodium hydroxide, give me one. Okay. So here, now the ionic equation, what are the ions here? So sodium hydroxide is reacting with sulfuric acid. So you can say when we consider the answer D, it shows all the ions. Sodium hydroxide, Na plus, OH minus. 2 are there because when you balance, 2 are coming, right? Then H2SO4, 2H plus, SO4 aqueous. Okay? And what is the product then? Sodium sulfate. So sodium sulfate also 2Na plus and SO4 2 minus and H2O liquid. So this is the answer D is the ionic equation for the reaction. Is it clear? Minaya, what is the problem? Yes. A. A. That's because it is not the simplest ionic equation. If it is simplest ionic equation, answer should be A. But they are asking just the ionic equation, right? So ionic equation means we have to show all the ions. And if it is the simplest ionic, then it should be the H plus and OH minus reacting to give H2O. Clear? Okay. Right. Okay. So any problem up to now? This part from the lesson, no problem, right? So what about Yashmi? Any problem about with you?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Right. So now we are moving on to a new part that is about comparing the masses of substances, right? So as I told you, if we want to measure the mass of, for example, say for our day-to-day life, we have to measure the masses. For example, if we want to measure our mass, what are we going to do? We are recording it in kilograms, right? So if you want to make a cake or something like that, what you do? You are measuring in grams, right? But when we are dealing with atoms, molecules, and those small particles, we can't measure their masses in kilograms or grams, because if we do so, it will be a very small value. It will be a very small value. So when we are dealing with atoms, molecules, and those things, what we do is we are dealing with another unit, right? That means to measure the masses of the substances, we are dealing with another small unit. So we will now look at that. Okay, right. So the first thing is the relative atomic mass. So as I told you, atoms are very tiny particles, right? So we can't measure their mass in kilograms or grams. So instead of that, we are using a term called as relative atomic mass. That means we are measuring the mass of an atom relative to relative to something, right? So what is this something? What is the thing that we take it as relative? So it is actually 1/12 of the mass of carbon 12 isotope, right? So when we are measuring the mass of an atom relative to 1/12 of the mass of carbon 12 isotope, we call it as relative atomic mass. Did you understand? Because we are taking the 1/12 of mass of another atom to compare the masses of the atoms. Did you understand that? So you have to remember this equation. If it is relative atomic mass, it should always be measured relative to 1/12 of the mass of carbon 12 isotope. Right? Clear? Right. Then what is the relative molecular mass? The difference here is we are measuring the mass of a molecule. Here also we are measuring the mass of a molecule relative to the 1/12 of the mass of an atom of carbon 12 isotope. Right? If it is the relative atomic mass, that is the mass of an atom relative to 1/12 of carbon mass of the carbon 12 isotope. But if it is the relative molecular mass, it is the mass of the molecule relative to 1/12 of the mass of carbon 12 isotope, right? So the mass of carbon 12 isotope is actually 12.00 grams. So if you are taking 1/12, 1/12 means 12 divided by 12, it comes as 1. So usually this down part comes as 1. Did you understand that? Okay. And also, there is another simple method of calculating the relative molecular mass. That means when they give you a molecule, if they are giving the relative atomic masses of individual atoms in that molecule, what you have to do is to calculate the relative molecular mass, you have to add the relative atomic masses of individual atoms. Is it clear? Relative atomic masses of individual atoms are added and then you can calculate the relative molecular mass. Did you understand that, Vinaya? Yes. What about Yashmi? Did you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Right. So, can you do this one? So, right. Before you do this, wait. Wait, what I will do is I will share with you the periodic table that they are giving you, right? So then you can actually use that one. I will share that PDF. I have shared with you the data booklet and in that you get the periodic table also. And I have shared with you a picture of the periodic table. So you can use that periodic table. It has the relative atomic masses of individual elements. So when you want to calculate the relative molecular mass, what you have to do is you have to add the relative atomic masses of individual atoms to calculate the relative molecular mass. Okay. So I think it is visible for you. Yeah. Can you see it? If not, wait, I'll. Yeah, whatever is clear for you, you do it. And then I am sending another one also. I have sent another two also. So you can do them. If it is not clear, that one, what is there here, I have sent to the group, right? So I have sent that one also to the group. So if it is clear, then do whatever it is clear. Unclear ones, you just keep it like. That one I have sent you to the group. That means before the periodic table. Yeah, whatever clear you can do. If it is not clear, then leave it. I have sent another two. You can use a calculator. No problem, right? For the Excel, you can use calculator. So once you're done, Minaya, can you send me a message? I'm going down for a moment. Okay? Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. This one, what is in this slide, if it is not clear, just leave it. No need to do. The other two that I have sent you, do those. Finish? Finish. Okay. So I'm not going to do each and every thing, right? So what you can do is just take the photos of your answers and please send me. Mina, give me how to see how you have. So Yashmi and Kiara, send me your answers.
Okay, ma'am.
Mina, you okay? You have to write it properly, right? You okay is somewhat confusing. Then there will be a issue in getting marks. Okay, I'm not going to see everything. Okay, right? Next, okay. Now next we will talk about the relative formula mass, right? So relative formula mass is also same, almost similar to the relative molecular mass, but the term formula include both molecules and ions, right? So simply, if I am explaining, relative formula mass means if they give a chemical formula, right? Whatever it is mentioned in the formula, you have to calculate the mass. That is the idea. So there is a question like this, right? So you can say CuSO4 dot 5H2O. So this is a formula. This is the formula for the hydrated copper sulfate, right? So if they ask you to calculate the relative formula mass of this, you have to calculate the mass of this entire thing. That means you have to add the relative atomic mass of copper, sulfur, 4 oxygens, then 5 into 2, 10 hydrogens, and again 5 oxygens, right? So likewise, relative formula mass means whatever it is in the formula, you have to calculate the mass. Is it clear? Understood? Right. So when the molecules are associated with water of crystallization, the term formula comes into play, right? So here, this is copper sulfate and it is associated with water of crystallization. So that is what we call this entire thing as the hydrated copper sulfate. Is it clear? Hmm? Right. So what about Yashmi and Kiara?
Clear, ma'am.
Clear. Okay. So can you do this question now? So what is the answer you got? 259. So Yashmi and Kiara, what are the answers you got? What is the answer you got? Yashmi, tell me.
249.6.
249.6. You, Kiara, also?
Can I also say
Say, okay. So actually, I also got it as 249.6. 40, right? Maybe some error in your calculation, right? Okay. So actually, we need to do about the molar masses, Avogadro constant, and these calculations. We will do it next time because when we start it now, we don't have enough time to finish. Only 5 minutes now, right? So, what are the difficulties you have? That means, from what I have been teaching you, is there anything which you all didn't understand? No, right? So I am going very slowly in this lesson because this lesson has lot of calculations, right? So after we pass the first lesson, second, third, they are all theory, right? This one has so much of calculations. We need to do it very carefully. And the upcoming one, that is about the moles, you have to understand that concept very well because that will be the actually heart of chemistry. Okay, right. Okay, so Yashmi and Kiara, any difficulty?
no, ma'am?
No. Okay. Okay, so we can stop the class for today and we will meet on next Monday and make sure that you study these things because on next Monday I will be giving the quiz. Okay. Right then. Okay. Thank you for the participation.